I got to leave real quick, Duane, because I need to go get that Reese's Pieces, the 4-pack, the king size.
You got a craving for it?
I got a craving
Got a
for
little
it.
hankering?
Yeah, that chocolate with the peanut butter, that mix, or maybe those little like those little powdered donuts in the nice little sleeve.
I'll eat the whole sleeve.
Yeah, the whole sleeve and more.
Anything chocolate peanut butter, I'm game.
Or you know what the ones that get me is the honey buns, the cheap ones with just the icing on top. Because you can warm those for like 9 seconds.
$1.90 for the whole.
So you
box.
get the plastic all on it, and you get like all those bad preservatives and chemicals.
My favorite is the no bake peanut butter oatmeal cookies right now.
But those are probably good for you.
No, not the way. Not when you have
oatmeal,
16.
I watched a lady last night because on Instagram we watch those food things. She took cookie dough. You know the little square frozen cookie doughs you can buy? So she took 4 of those, set them in the bottom of the pan. Then she took Hershey bars, the big Hershey bars, set that on top. Then she took graham crackers crumbled up. This is layered. Put that on top. This is in like a big pan.
Yeah. A baking
pan. And then put that marshmallow sauce, you know, the marshmallow stuff in the can. Put that on top. So it's basically like a s'more, and then put that in the oven.
It's like a s'more cake.
And then it was just like, you could put layers of, but I'm like, it's cookie dough on top of chocolate bars, on top of graham crackers, on top of marshmallow goo.
I don't think I sent you that video, but I've seen that video. I know what you're talking about.
So I know we've got everybody hungry, and probably half the audience has already left. Because they're off
for s'mores,
for s'mores and no bake oatmeal cookies. But today, this is fun. We're going to talk about cravings.
Cravings
In addiction.
Yes.
And so, what do you view as, like, for you when you were an addict? What was it like with alcohol, especially? What was it like, or cocaine, whatever drugs you're using? What was it like with your cravings? Like, what was it? What did you feel like? What was going on inside of you?
You know, there's a combination. Once you go down the progression enough with a disease or dis-ease of addiction, where it's like, I have to have this. I have to have this. My skin is crawling. We've talked about this before in the past, just in regards to being irritable and discontent. I'm constantly irritable. My life is a mess. I don't like the way it's going. What can I do to feel something different? So it's almost like my skin is crawling. And I know that the alcohol or whatever substance was the drug of choice at the time was going to remove that uncomfortable feeling.
So it actually would make you feel better.
Absolutely.
Like
for a moment.
Yeah, like it would in your mind kind of solve the problem. You knew it kind of fuck it up, but also
Correct.
you knew that it would solve the problem.
It's like
so it was like a short term.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like solving your headache with a hammer.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, well, if I bang on my head with this hammer, now I can just focus on the pain externally instead of internally.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And that's a great analogy of our addiction. And so the craving piece, you know, it took a lot of education and good leadership to learn and understand, gain a better understanding of this word craving and what's really going on in an addiction. Like I said, when I went down the rabbit hole far enough into the progression of my disease, I had to have the substance. I was King Duane, my ego was forefront, and I was going to get what I wanted. And what I wanted was to not feel uncomfortable. And I knew that the alcohol would work immediately. So it becomes
a comfort,
a necessity. Initially comfort, yes, but then down the progression, it grows into a lot more than comfort.
Well, I think it just becomes easy.
It becomes a god.
Yeah, and I think with any addiction, like for me with food addiction, it's like I know the outcome. Like I'm starving, I'm pissed off, I'm depressed, whatever it is. If I run through this drive-through and eat this food, I at least will feel somewhat satisfied, even though it's bad for my body. But I'm not concerned about that. I'm just concerned about getting this feeling away from.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting how we will risk the long term for this instant gratification. And there's a huge lack of wisdom in that. There's a huge immaturity in that.
Yeah.
But there's also just a poor education in that also. I don't know the proper meaning of sacrifice. I don't know what it is to take responsibility for the future. All I care about with my ego forefront is getting what I want when I want it, and I want it now. Actually, I wanted it yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't want it now. I wanted it fucking yesterday, and I can't wait any longer. And that's why drugs and alcohol work so fast.
Do you think that this is, because I want to go deeper in this and do some self-awareness in this. Do you think, because like with me, with addiction, I was an addict with my job.
Yeah, of course. Workaholic.
I'll work really hard and then if it's not hard and there's not a challenge, even though I'm pissed off the whole time with the challenge and I'm the victim, but if there's no challenge, I get bored really easy and I would just go do another job.
Add another one on top.
Yeah. Or a relationship, if there's not like trauma bonding, or there's not me being the savior, the hero that gets to rescue the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
After that, it's like, oh, here's a new one. Oh, she's hurting more than this one I had now. So dispose of this one next. Do you think that there's like, I mean, alcohol's just, to me, alcohol or whatever addiction you have, gambling, whatever it is, that is kind of just a part of the way you're living your life.
I love it. Yeah, I would agree 100%. There's a very low vibration, and that's what I'm addicted to. I'm addicted to the stress. I'm addicted to the struggle. I'm addicted to this has to be hard. I'm supposed to struggle through this. And that's why it can manifest in thousands of different ways.
So the struggle hits.
I feel
the
normal.
Stress hits, and then the trigger is I created, because we're co-creators in this universe, I believe. So the trigger hits, here's stress, and I put myself there. Stress, anxiety, worry, whatever it is. So the trigger hits, so there I go, off to my addiction.
Now I have an excuse.
So I've just created this feedback loop that's just over and over again doing the same thing. Where if you could get, I think focusing on the craving, and we're going to get into cravings and stuff, is too far down the loop. And I know a lot of psychology and stuff. I heard something really good. And this is, like I said, this is my opinion. And I heard this person on a podcast, and they're like, most of psychology is dealing with ego. So it's like, you can keep the wolf, you could put him in a cage. You can tie him up. You can put a big collar on him. You can put a muzzle on him, but he's not going to have a very good life.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, you could not feed him meat. You could deny who he is, but the wolf is there. Your ego is there, so it's not trying to put it in a cage or trying to ignore it or not acknowledge it. I think the more that you bring light into something, the more you see how much of a wolf you are, the more the transformation begins to come.
I love that.
The alchemy happens from the lead to gold.
Absolutely. One of my favorite psychologists uses the same analogy, but he just says monster.
Yeah.
He's like, you need to understand you're a monster.
Yes.
What's the only thing a monster won't fuck with? It's another fucking monster.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to navigate the world. You need to know you're a monster, but choose not to use that power. And going through the depths of an addiction can bring that forefront. I know that I've been through the hard stuff. I've been through hell. I found a way out.
But also, I know that I put myself there most of these times.
And that's how
that's the recognition that's probably hard.
That's how we take responsibility.
Because a lot of recovery stories I hear, it's just victim talk. It's just, well, my mom did this to me, or my dad did this, or I had this when I was a childhood, or I was, born this way, and my whole family lineage was alcoholics. Yeah. Maybe your whole family's been alcoholics, and that's really tough. Maybe you were raised on the street or whatever, and that's tough. And you're starting from a -2 when somebody else gets to start from a 5 or 6, living in a middle-class family.
Yeah.
But guess what? It still does not give you an excuse not to be the best version of you. And the best version of you is you kicking your addiction's ass.
Yeah.
That's why we have Recovered Addict.
Absolutely.
The best you is your higher self.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point.
Getting in touch with that.
And it's so funny because your addiction, and you could testify to this, your addiction is the reason where you're at right now.
Yes.
If you did not have your addiction, that would not have given you the catalyst for your spiritual growth. And you know this.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah. And what a wild thing to say this thing that was horrific and painful and got me close to death, hurt countless people, is now one of my greatest assets because it forged me into what I am today. And what I am today is someone who can help another individual going through the same shit. And that gives me purpose. That gives me meaning. When you talk about the we hear a lot of victims. It's very easy to play the victim, especially if I don't know that I have a choice. I have a choice in regards to taking back the control of my life and that I could actually live a life worthwhile. One of the things we love and that resonates with me recently has been, you're all in this game of life. It's going to kill you regardless. Like you're going to die. Right. And since you're all in this game, why not play the most magnificent game you can? And for me, that looks like making a handshake commitment with the universe that I want to feel good all the time. Not half the time, not some of the time, not just when I'm getting laid, not just when I'm getting paid, all the time. So if I'm trying to feel good all the time, that means I have to take 100% responsibility for what's going on in my life, the good and the bad. I no longer get to be the victim. Not even the victim of my unconscious disease.
That's crazy.
My unconscious addiction.
Yes, that's so good.
Yeah. Ripping that addiction into the light. Ego is no longer forefront. We want to lead with inner being, with source.
Yeah, it's almost like, you remember the old Scooby-Doos? Where they would be like the ghosts, or was like, woo, and then at the end they'd rip the
mask off.
But it's almost like you rip the mask off and it's just another you.
It's just you.
You're like, fuck, I've been running from myself.
There was a few episodes like that, I think. They kept taking the face off, but it was just the same person. Yeah, you're the evil son of a bitch that put you in this position.
Yeah, when you realize, and I was thinking about this the other day, when you realize you can create, and you're a powerful creator, the universe doesn't give two fucks what you're creating.
No.
You could create a lot of hell, fire, and brimstone and some crazy shit.
Yes, exactly.
And that just shows you, it's like, I created all this craziness and chaos. Yep. Well, that just shows you how powerful you are as a being. Because the universe will say, oh, you want to go in this direction? Go in that direction. You want to learn lessons? We'll have, everything works together for good, as the Bible says. And so if you want to go down that dark path, you can go down the dark path and we're going to learn lessons while you go down that dark path. But it's so funny when you hear these stories. And I want to get in, before we get into that, I think this is really important. So when it comes to cravings, most people don't understand the aspect of what they are. We were talking about this before.
This is great. Yeah, it's very important to just
I think we should stop and kind of define
shine some light on the connotation and the actual meaning, or the actual maybe like biochemistry that's taking place when we're talking about cravings. Usually, if someone is normal, when they have a normal reaction to a substance, like let's say strawberries, to use the word, oh, I'm craving a strawberry. That makes perfect sense to me. That I understand that. That means, oh, I want a strawberry. Very easily confused. That word craving can very easily be confused when I start talking about my unconscious addiction. Oh, I'm craving alcohol. What do you mean you're craving alcohol? Like you want a cocktail after work? What do you mean by that? It's like, no. Like I only think about drinking. I want that all the time.
But isn't that an obsession, not a craving?
That's exactly right. So we need to get into the real definition of the addiction craving and the like normal day-to-day.
I want a cheeseburger.
I'm really craving chocolate right now.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing. That's not what we're talking about.
That makes sense.
So an obsession is I'm thinking about alcohol nonstop. I want it. I gotta have it. I know it works. I know it removes the irritable and discontent immediately. I need to have it. I want the alcohol. So that's an obsession. That is not a craving. A craving takes place in the addict or, someone suffering from addiction once I have consumed the substance or engaged in the behavior. So let's say I'm addicted to sex. I'm thinking about it. It's like, no. That's an obsession. You're not craving sex.
Mm.
I partake in the act.
Yes.
I have sex. And now I have to have more. That's the craving, is I no longer have an off switch.
Yes.
So when alcohol enters my body, then the craving engages. There's no stopping Duane. I never stopped ever.
Yeah,
I never had a desire to have one or two. Let's test it. Let's have two. Couldn't do it. I went until I blacked out, passed out, or ran out every time.
So when it comes to your addiction, it's not, I've been at the casino for 12 hours straight. I'm going to stay here the whole weekend.
I can't stop.
Man, I was watching, they had a video. It was on Instagram. It was horrific. But they were showing people pissing in the seats.
Because they're sitting at the machine.
At the machines. And then they were showing it like just puddle down below them and be all over their clothes. Because they're probably drunk, or drugged out and just pushing.
Sure.
But like you would literally just piss all over carpet.
Sure.
And I was thinking, it's like, how often does that happen? Where somebody's that addicted?
When you're, let's say that's the, that's one of the depths of addiction. You're fucked by that point.
Yeah.
That's when the obsession and craving engage at the same time. So now I have both going at the same time. Mentally, I'm obsessed. I can't think about anything else. Physically, I'm craving.
That makes sense.
I'm not going to stop.
Yes, that makes sense.
So it's very important just to understand the connotation of craving in reference to addiction. This is not like craving strawberries because I kind of like them. This is like, no. It's in me and I cannot stop.
Do you think, so let me ask you this. Do you think that whenever you have the craving, so we're past the point of, so maybe I'm not in recovery right now and I'm just I'm listening to this because I'm curious or whatever, and maybe I'm wanting to be in recovery. I'm wanting to go to a meeting.
Yes.
I always picture, people like that are in our audience, because you have all types, people that's been out of recovery for, 20 years, or people that just started 2 days ago, or people that are just kind of listening and hinting around because they know their life's fucked, When you drink the alcohol or do the sex or play on the machine, whatever it may be, it's all dopamine.
Yep.
But when it's understanding neurosciences, deep dives into that helps so much because it's just a chemical trigger.
Yeah. And that's what we become addicted to.
Yeah. It's that simple. It's like a little, and Andrew Huberman was talking about this on the Huberman podcast. It's like a little pump that goes and sprays two chemicals. It's a little
brain pump
that goes, and then it's like, yeah, I want to drink.
Yep.
It's that simple. Like, it sounds so stupid. I mean, it's probably this little microscopic, who knows how big the pump is. That's just, it's like a perfume spray.
And it's controlling my life.
And it's literally ruining your life.
Every decision is based off of that little.
Yeah, it sounds silly, doesn't it, when you think about it?
Very interesting.
That's why I like study. That's why I think people should go on deep dives on neuroscience and spirituality and all these things. Like, dive deep and study yourself. Every part of you. Like, take the time to go through. So I want to get in this because I want us to get into tips on how to handle cravings and addiction. Plus, you got to go to the groomers here real soon. Not for you, but
dog groomers.
The dog. Here are some tips on how to handle cravings and addiction. Number one, acknowledge the craving. The first step to handling craving is to acknowledge it. Don't try to push it away or pretend it's not there. So there's a bottle sitting in front of you. You've not drank yet, so you're obsessed with it.
Yes, exactly.
And it's sitting there. How do you pretend like the bottle's not there? Or do you push it away? Or do you acknowledge that the bottle is there and you acknowledge that you're obsessed over it?
Excellent question. This may be many of the people listening right now.
Right.
And usually the analogy that we like to use is like, let's say it's the exact same analogy. I have a bottle in front of me. If it's just Duane and the bottle and my mental obsession, I'm going to pick that bottle up every time. I can't help but pick that bottle up. My neurological pump won't let me not pick that bottle up. But if it's Duane and then God in between me and the bottle, I got a fighting chance.
Yeah, you were just at a restaurant last night with your
With my
significant
wife.
other. Yeah, your wife, and she was drinking alcohol, and you were sitting at a bar, and
It was
everything was fun.
It was phenomenal.
You were serving drinks before.
Yeah, I served drinks for years. I would have alcohol spill on me constantly. One of the biggest blessings and largest miracles I've ever experienced as a result of long-term recovery is the obsession being removed. I don't obsess about alcohol anymore.
So how did that happen?
It happened with a lot of spiritual practice, countless prayer, willingness to change. I had a willingness to not die drunk. So I was doing whatever it took to not die drunk. And what that looked like was following directions, getting plugged into a spiritual recovery program, having a community around me that had my back and was also willing to share their wisdom with me. But I had to absorb the wisdom. I had to be willing to do the shit they said. And
did over time the obsession go away?
It took time. It took time. I was very blessed to have that experience within 6 months of a genuine willingness to try it for real, to try recovery for real.
So after 6 months, you didn't have to dodge the aisle at the grocery store.
I was trying to recover for 3 years before that. So it took me 3 years
and 6 months
of dying and coming back to life, and I'll never again, and crash and burn again, and a new bottom. Oh, man, I didn't think my bottom could get any lower. It's like, nope, there's a bottom underneath that too. So the experience just gets worse and worse. So it wasn't just 6 months. It was literally 8 years of hell, 3 years of trying, and then a complete willingness to do what was necessary to transform my life. And that took 6 months. 6 months, and the obsession was removed. I used to have panic attacks walking through Smith's because I knew where the alcohol was. And I would navigate the grocery store by the tile. I would just look down, and I'd pray my ass off. God, relieve me of this obsession. God, relieve me of this obsession. God, relieve me of this
That's a great affirmation people could do right now.
That's one that worked for me. That is highly, highly functional, and I recommend big time.
Just praying
So
that.
if I'm not big enough to remove it, why not get in touch with the power that is?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's start getting in touch with the thing that is actually going to solve my problem. It's not Duane and his ego. It's source. It's God consciousness. It's the power inside of me, but my ego's too forefront. I can't get in touch with it.
So you pray, you're relieve you of that obsession. The creative part of you that was creating chaos now begins to create order. And that God conscious comes through, and then next thing you know, you can have alcohol spilt on you, and there's not even a craving.
How powerful! How powerful! I was.
You can snip it, and it doesn't do anything.
I started navigating the grocery store with my head up. I didn't have panic attacks going to Smith's. I was fine. I felt nothing. I looked at a bottle of alcohol and a jar of mayonnaise, and I felt the same thing. I felt nothing. I was like, that used to rule my life.
Yes.
And now I feel neutral. I have a neutral, I'm in a place of neutrality surrounding that. That's a miracle. That is not something Duane and his ego is capable of doing. That's higher power. That's source.
Well, like you said, that was 6 months of hard work, but there was 3 years of failing that led to the 6 months of success.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's what I get into next is identifying your triggers. What are the things that typically trigger your cravings? Once you know what your triggers are, you can start to develop strategies for avoiding them or coping with them in a healthy way. Now, I want to do something real simple, and you're a personal trainer, Duane, for executives, so you know this. This is really simple they always say it's not being at the gym, it's getting to the gym.
Absolutely.
So your problem is, I don't know what I'm going to wear. I don't, it's like, it's once you get in the car and start driving there, you're fine. Once you get to the gym, usually you have a great workout. It's very few times where you don't have at least a pretty good workout. You may kind of half-ass the workout, but you're going to do something once you get to the gym for the most part. So for me, a trigger, how I had to do that, like I talked about earlier, was a feedback loop. For me is to I want to nip it in the bud when it's a 1 or a 2, not a 7 or an 8.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
So I got to do a lot of self-aware practice to go back. Like I would be like, why am I obsessed right now? You would have to ask questions, like self-aware questions, like what in this moment is causing me to be irritable? Like, what am I irritated about? Oh, my ex texts me and I saw on Instagram that she's with a new guy or girl or whatever,
Right.
Oh, well, but you didn't know that. All you saw was like, fucking son of a bitch. Like, I can't believe she's or he's doing this. And, oh, I'm so depressed. I really want to be with her. And then that was 4 hours ago. And then now all of a sudden you're obsessed to go, take meth or whatever. So you have to kind of, but if you recognize it, then you could be like, oh, okay, this is just a trigger that's happening. This is going to trigger me and I need to know what it is. And when you call it out, it takes the power away from it because the ego can't handle that when you bring stuff into the light.
Absolutely.
It wants to drag stuff into shadows. It's the dark.
Man, that's a great metaphor. Yeah. It only exists in the dark.
Yeah. Well, it's like creepy and it grabs something and it's like.
It can thrive in the dark.
Brings it over there and it wants to.
That's our shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. That takes a lot of work and a lot of practice, and it gets better with time. And that's a great analogy. Stop it at a 1 or 2. Don't let it become an 8. An 8 is gonna.
But can you get a 7 or a 6?
Well, it's the same as just momentum in general. We don't have to get so specific with numbers,
right?
And say, well, 6 I can stop, but 7 I'm fucked. And it's like, no.
I get you.
It's just momentum. We love Abraham Hicks, and she has a great analogy in regards to negative momentum or positive momentum and the hills in San Francisco. And it's like, so there's a vehicle at the top of one of these hills and I push it. And that's my negative, I'm going to go get fucked up thought. And it's like, when do you want to stop that vehicle? Do you want to stop that vehicle after it rolls 2 inches? Or do you want to try and stop that vehicle at the bottom of the hill? Both ways, you could try. One way is going to be super painful.
Yes, yeah.
Might kill you.
Yeah, that's so good to look at that spiritual momentum.
Spiritual momentum, positive or negative momentum. Can I attach that to a God consciousness as well? God, help relieve me of this obsession.
Right.
Catch it. It didn't even go 2 inches. I caught it as soon as I had the thought.
So help relieve me. I wish them the best. I wish my ex and her new man the best of luck.
Powerful, powerful. So as soon as the judgment
and
creeps
God help
in,
me not be jealous.
Let's call it what it is. The ego is my shitty thinking. Let the negative aspect, the shadow aspect.
Yeah.
Yes. And for sure, it's necessary. For sure, it helps us survive.
But I mean, that self-preservation it's like a paranoid schizophrenic bitch.
Right. I'm no longer in the jungle.
Like, fuck you. Like, It's like my ego's like Karen, serial killer. Like, I mean, you
oh yeah.
Like, you name all this stuff. That's my ego. And so I have to kind of, that's just my monkey mind.
This is the next, exactly. This is the next step in human evolution. We are not monkeys in the forest confronted by predators anymore.
No.
We're just not. We're not in the trees being hunted by snakes, birds, and cats, but we're still reacting.
Yes. 100%.
As if that's a snake.
Yeah.
That's a cat. That's a big ass cat and it's going to kill me. And it's like, no, it's not. That's your Aunt Karen. She's just loud.
Or people can't handle rejection, in life, whether it's a job interview, whether it's somebody that you ask out for a date or whatever it is.
Yes.
Like I was watching a podcast the other day and they said there were like 40% of men haven't had sex in 2 years. Now, if you choose to not have sex, and you want to be celibate or whatever, awesome. If that's a spiritual thing. But what they were saying is a lot of them are angry towards women, especially like early 20s. And
if a lot of that going on.
There's a 20-year-old guy listening to this. I want you to pay attention to what we're fixing to say. That anger and that resentment you have, it's a lot of it, and I'm going to piss people off, a lot of it comes with your mom.
For sure.
Whether your mom babied you, you need to recognize this. If you got your way all the time and she always, even though you did bad things or you were dishonest, but you could bullshit her and then she would believe you, and you kept doing that over and over again, that leads to addiction. Like, because now the addiction plays well with that. Let me bullshit you and be dishonest. And
then instant gratification.
Yes. Yeah.
Mom made it better right away. Mom instantly gave me what I wanted.
Yeah. And so the bottle is the mom. You see what I'm saying? And so the bottle will give you that short-term fix in that you're lying to yourself. But when it comes to triggers, what I have found the best thing that I have found for me is when I recognize that it's the monkey mind, to use the affirmation, you've talked about this a lot, is that's not real.
That's not real.
It's not real. Like I'll say it like in a very good, like, Jason, that is not real.
That's a crazy thought.
Yeah, it's not real.
It's not real. It's not reality. That's a crazy thought. That's a I need to go get fucked up thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna mess me up thought.
Yeah, I'm
It's
obsessing over something, and the obsession is not real. I've created the obsession.
I love this, what we're talking about, Jason, so much. And it's so cool that we get to share this together, and hopefully it resonates with the listeners. But I'm just, this responsibility, it's such a crazy thing to say. Oh, I love responsibility. It's like, no, but I love the idea of taking responsibility for what's going on in my head.
Yes.
That's a crazy thought.
What if I've never taken responsibility because everybody's done everything for me?
Exactly. That's the Oedipal situation. And I can't even navigate the world. I have anxiety stepping out of my house because everything's been done for me.
Yes.
And it's like, no, you need to be formidable. You need to know you're a monster. You need to suit up and show up and go face the world and learn how to walk through some shit, especially our addictions. When I take responsibility for what's going on in my mind, I become more functional in the world. I can contribute. I can show up. I can be there. We've talked about this in a previous podcast, but I would like to reiterate it. The situation, my mom, the lady, the bad boss, whatever it is, I've been triggered. I need to go drink. Those are not the trigger. Duane and his crazy thinking, I'm the trigger.
I heard this on this podcast that we're listening to now. Both of us are. It's the pattern.
Yes.
It's not the person. It's not anything. It's the pattern.
My victim
that
pattern.
you're addicted to.
Yes.
So the pattern. So this always happens to me, and this is my usual response.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get personal with this person. You can't get pissed off at this person because that all they did was trigger the pattern.
Correct.
And then I'm on I'm on the loop. The little feedback, the negative feedback loop. So I run it this way. I get all fucking paranoid. I get angry. I get stupid. I go to the store. I buy a bottle. And then I start drinking it on the way home.
Exactly.
And then I get drunk and I text stupid shit.
And it's because of the world, because I'm dominated by the world and the people in it.
So
if only you treated me better,
yes,
I wouldn't have to be drinking right now. So it's your fault and I get to remain the victim and I never have to take responsibility. So I'm the trigger. I'm the one with the judgmental thoughts. I'm the one with the fearful, insecure thoughts. That's on me. And that's also taking 100% responsibility for what's going on in my mind. So starting to correct that with the spot it, with the ULP. There it is. There's a crazy thought. That's not real. That's not real. When I say ULP, it's the same thing as that's not real. Nope, that's not real. That's just a crazy thought. Taking responsibility for what's going on in my mind is probably the most important strategy I have right now to sidestep those things that are going to kick my ass.
Yeah, so taking 100% responsibility, it leads to our next one, which is have a plan. So, when the craving comes on, I'm not going to be reactive. I'm not going to get emotional about it. I'm going to be the person that is the best version of myself. And what does that look like?
Yes.
So how do I make a plan? Like for you, it's the gym. And we'll talk about distractions later, but sometimes that's the only thing you can do. Like I've had times where I just knew something wasn't right. So I went 180 degrees away from it.
Perfect.
There's just something that was inside of me, the intuition or something. And I think a lot of people, when you get triggered, you start leaning into the obsession. And that lean will fuck you up.
Yeah, that's Alice down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, who do you find down the rabbit hole? It's like Mother Nature, and she says off with their head. That's where our addiction takes us. My addiction whooped my ass, and I got as close to dying as I ever want to get. This idea of have a plan, frickin' gold. This is like, okay, all right, now we're talking about saving your life. Maybe we should be a little serious about this because it will freaking save your life.
Yes.
And then this is just a tentative, maybe first option doesn't work, nice to have a second option. Third option doesn't work, second option doesn't work, nice to have a third option. This is a tentative, like on the fly strategy and plan for when my mind is going crazy, the wolves are at the door, I want to drink. I don't know what to do. My plan, step number one in my plan is always pray. God, I need your help, or that's a ULP, that's not real. Ask the appropriate power, the aligned inner being part of me, the part of me that is a co-creator, the part of me that creates worlds. If the part of me is big enough to create worlds, don't you think it's big enough to kick this fucking addiction in its ass?
I wouldn't even.
It's not addicted.
Flick it away.
That part of me is not addicted. That part of me is whole and complete
exactly.
all the time. So number 1, pray. Number 2, something physical. Exercise, the gym. The gym is major for me. I just know I'm going. I built a business and a career and a lifestyle around the gym because I love it. That's when my body opens up and I feel most alive. That's exercise. Absolutely. A walk, a hike, rock climbing, cycling, swimming, anything, any demanding sense perception activity is going to remove me from my mind.
It forces you to get into nature.
You have to be present.
Yeah. While you're talking about this, I want to read something to you because this was absolutely amazing. Zach Bush, he's a medical doctor. He wrote this, and he said, how do you want to spend this sacred life? If you are struggling in a desolate time emotionally, spiritually, or physically, take a moment to observe the patterns of nature. It only takes a few drops of rain to ignite the seeds buried within the depths of the soil to give birth to a whole new life. We are living in a finite time so that we can experience life, love, and beauty in a whole new way. Let the angst, animosity, jealousy, shame, guilt, and judgment weighing on your heart today fall like leaves from your being. Honor the death of what has been keeping you caged, because it is in this letting go that you can liberate a life ready to feel love, acceptance, forgiveness, and hope again. What are you ready to let go of today? But he talked about in the beginning, it's like the patterns of nature. Get out there. You just did that this weekend.
Yeah, I went for a major hike in the woods alone with my dog.
It always resets you. Why?
There's something so ancient up there, and just walking with God, knowing that I'm capable. It was so powerful. It was a beautiful trip. I shared it with you first, and sent you the pictures. And
well, it's so funny because you can take a car battery and put it on concrete.
Ground. Yeah, on concrete.
On concrete, and it will drain the battery. And we live in concrete fluorescent lights. We go straight from a house that's 72 degrees to a car that's 72 degrees to a building that's 72 degrees. We never step our bare feet on grass.
Ever.
We never, I'm not talking like being silly and hug a tree. I'm like, we never have a conversation with the tree that's just as alive as you are. And when you get, to me, it's like I instantly, within 5 minutes, I can feel a difference when I'm start to hike.
Yep.
When I get into the mountain, just here, the mountains here, just right here. I mean, it takes me 15 minutes to get there. The minute I start, I instantly, it's like stuff just starts falling off me. Like, and you experience that. Like once it's that weight, the stress and all the bullshit of this world that we've created, this matrix that's not real.
That's not real.
You take people out of Earth and give it 10,000 years and you'll see what's real.
That's my crazy brain.
What's real is just nature and all this beauty.
So the gym, physical exercise, any type of getting into the nature, getting into woods, we would put that exercise. Call. Who do I have? Do I have a support person? Do I have a support system? Do I have a list of people that I can call when the shit's hitting the fan?
I'm craving.
And I need
being
help?
obsessed. Yeah.
I'm gonna go do something I shouldn't do right now. Who can I call to help? Who are those ride or dies? Who's someone that I can rely on no matter what? Even just to talk me off the ledge. Do you know how helpful it is to have an outside perspective? My perspective is skewed. I'm too raw to the situation, and I can't see reality, and the alcohol is going to make it better.
Well, what people don't realize how powerful having that communication with another human being.
Yes.
And you can see this when you talk to people that have done suicidal attempts and they've had somebody that come up there, a trained professional that talks them off the ledge, literally.
Yes.
Like your chance of committing suicide is really high. Once you're out there, you've made the commitment, you're there. But having somebody talk you, majority of the time, they can talk people off. How's the power in that?
Incredible.
You see what I'm saying?
The connection, one human being to another.
So it's that spiritual connection of somebody that's been there, done it, got the t-shirt. How many times have you had cravings when you were in your addiction? Thousands.
Countless,
so if you have the people that you're helping now, if you have one of them call you, You're like, you got this, bud.
Yep.
Here's.
I know what that's
You
like.
know exactly what.
Let me tell you what worked for me.
There's nothing new here.
That's good. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. You're just like me, and through that unity, we find strength.
Yes, it's so good.
Together we can do this. When I didn't know alone, because like I said, I'm too blind. I'm just blind. I'm
obsessed. That's what happens in the.
That's exactly what obsession is. Yes, I can't see reality.
They put the blinders on racehorses
exactly
to keep them from
to win.
They run faster. Yeah,
they win, but they kill themselves in the process.
Yeah.
It is similar along the similar lines. Another nice tool is okay. Well, who can I meet with? Who do I have to speak to? Can I talk to a priest? Can I talk to a therapist? Can I talk to someone guiding me through a recovery program?
Can I hop on a Zoom call?
Yes. Can I find a meeting? Is there someone that can just hear me? Maybe getting this out will give this a place to live other than in my body. These uncomfortable feelings, these triggers, these whatever, things that are kicking my ass.
So if you have, I want to make this very clear. If you're having cravings, obsessions, get out and go to a meeting.
Absolutely.
Get out. Stop being fucking lazy. Stop making excuses and get out and walk or take a bike or get on the bus. Who gives a fuck? Get a ride, whatever it takes, get to a meeting.
Absolutely. And then another nice one is journal. Can I write? Can I get this crazy thought down on paper? Can I ask God for help? Can I write a prayer? Can I, again, give these nasty emotions, these cravings, a place to live other than in my body? And then another nice tool is fucking sleep. Take a nap. Go to bed. Go to bed. When I go to sleep, I touch source, and I stop that crazy momentum.
Yeah, I had somebody, a psychologist, talking about this. It's so interesting. So, what an animal does when they've been attacked, but they survive. So they'll start shaking a whole bunch. Yeah, we should kind of like shake it off. You'll always see that if you watch Animal Planet. They almost got bit by the tiger or the lion or whatever, but they made it out. So they start shaking, and then they go sleep.
The energy dissipates.
Yeah, and so another thing that you get, and this is a good thing to look up, it's called ecstatic dancing. So it's like taking like spiritual dance music and stuff like that, and just move your body wherever you feel. Paul Chek talks about this. It's so awesome. He's like, do you feel like stress in your shoulder? Just put some music on and start moving your shoulder. Just move your shoulders like this. You can do whatever you want, but that'll help with the craving because you're moving your body. Put some music on because music's amazing and it's powerful.
Yes.
Especially the right type of music.
Absolutely. And it brings us present. Music is so
don't listen to the depressing stuff or the the Satan stuff.
Yeah, not that.
I always think they're cool. I always like the way they look and stuff.
Even that could resonate.
But that could resonate with some people. Maybe it helps you.
Do that.
But whatever, it's like, and then just stand up and start dancing and move around. You can't sit there and sit down and stare at a bottle or stare at a drug. It just doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we'll end in this, Duane, because like I said, we can't leave your dog overnight.
Yeah, I got bounce.
At the
groomer.
At the groomer. So be patient.
Oh, so powerful. So hard.
Cravings can be intense, but they will pass. Everything passes. Be patient with yourself. Keep reminding yourself that you can overcome this. That's why we have the word recovered. Absolutely. People get pissed off at our word Recovered Addict Podcast.
It's controversial for a reason.
The God consciousness in you is recovered.
It's recovered.
It's never added.
We want the God conscious forefront. This too shall pass. Go practice one of these strategies. We just gave you 10 of them and change your life. You're worth it.